I turned 80 last fall, not 94, not yet, but old enough to understand how time moves. It doesn't rush you. It just quietly keeps walking. Most mornings I sit on this porch with a cup of coffee and watch the street come alive. Same street I walked for 33 years when I carried mail for the United States Postal Service. I started in 1963. Back then, I thought I was just delivering envelopes. Turns out, I was delivering pieces of people's lives. When you're a mail carrier, you become something invisible and steady. You show up every day whether it's raining sideways or the pavement's soft from July heat. You slide letters into boxes, nod to neighbors, move on. But after a while, you start noticing things, not because you're snooping, because you're there. You notice when birthday cards from a sister in Ohio stop coming. You notice when glossy vacation brochures get replaced by envelopes stamped "Final Notice." You notice when handwriting changes, patterns, life leaves patterns behind. At 30, I believed what most people believe, that if you share a house with someone, share meals, share a bed, you know them. By 80, I understand something different. You know the version they are comfortable showing you. That doesn't make them monsters. It makes them human. I watched couples hold hands in church on Sunday morning. On Monday, I'd place certified mail from an attorney into their box. I watched men wave at me from the driveway, friendly as can be. I knew from the envelopes in my satchel they were months behind on payments their wives didn't know about. I'm not telling you this to make you suspicious of everyone you love. I'm telling you because certainty can be dangerous. There's a comfort in saying, I know him, I know her. They would never. I used to say that too, about my husband, Frank. We were married 24 years before I found out there were parts of his life I had never been invited into. Not because I went looking, because one day by accident something slipped. It always does. Not dramatically, not like in the movies, just a small detail that doesn't line up. At 40, I would have brushed it aside. At 55, I didn't. By 80, I understand that what hurts most isn't the lie itself. It's realizing how long you chose not to look too closely. That's the illusion. We think proximity equals knowledge. It doesn't. It just means you're nearby. There's a difference between trust and avoidance. It took me years to understand that. Trust is built slowly, like stacking firewood for winter. Avoidance feels warmer in the moment. When Frank said he was working late, I believed him. When he grew quiet for weeks at a time, I told myself he was tired. When something in my stomach tightened, that small, silent instinct, I pushed it down.
Because pushing it down was easier than pulling it into the light. Most betrayals don't begin with some grand decision. They begin with small allowances, a detail that doesn't make sense, a promise that bends, a story that shifts slightly. You notice it, then you excuse it. Then you adjust your expectations so the story still fits. That's how erosion works, not with thunder, with repetition. On my route, there was a blue house on the corner of Maple and 3rd. Nice family, 2 kids, golden retriever. The wife used to leave a bottle of water for me on hot days, for years, nothing unusual. Then one afternoon, I slipped a letter from a law office into their box. A week later, another. Then certified mail. The wife stopped leaving water on the porch. The husband stopped waving. 6 months later, there was a for sale sign in the yard. People always think the collapse began when the paperwork arrived. It didn't. It began years earlier, when someone chose not to confront something small. I stayed with Frank longer than I should have. 8 years after I knew. Not because I didn't see clearly, because change is frightening. You get used to the house, the routine, the shared history. You start measuring your identity against what you built together. Leaving means admitting that what you thought you had wasn't what you thought. That's hard at 30. It's harder at 50. But here's something I learned. The cost of staying in denial is heavier than the cost of facing truth. Denial steals years quietly. Truth hurts loudly, but it heals cleaner. When I finally left, my youngest daughter said something that still stays with me. She said, "I thought you were waiting for permission. Children see more than we give them credit for. They watch tone, silence, distance. They don't need proof. They feel it. That's another pattern I noticed over decades. Kids always know before adults admit.
Now, at 80, I don't live in suspicion. I live in observation. There's a difference. Observation is calm. Suspicion is frantic. I trust people in my life, my children, my neighbor Carol, who checks in every Sunday afternoon, my old friend Patricia, who's known me since 1967. But I trust them because over decades, their words match their actions. Consistency. That's the only reliable currency. Not charm, not promises, not how someone makes you feel in a candlelit room. Patterns. What do they do on an ordinary Tuesday when nothing is at stake? Do they show up? Do they follow through? Do they apologize without twisting blame? At 80, you realize time is more fragile than trust. I blinked and my mailbag was handed to someone younger. I blinked and the houses I once delivered to had new families inside. The people whose secrets I carried, most of them are gone now.
Time doesn't pause while you debate whether to face what's in front of you. If something in your life doesn't sit right, don't silence it. Don't panic. Just observe. Ask quiet questions. Have honest conversations. Truth may change your life, but denial will slowly empty it. There's a maple tree at the end of my driveway. It's been there longer than I have. Every fall, it sheds leaves without argument. It doesn't cling to what it can't keep. That's how I try to live now. Light, aware, at peace with what I know, and humble about what I don't. The biggest lesson 33 years of delivering mail taught me wasn't that people are cruel. It's that people are complicated. We all carry versions of ourselves. Some we share easily, some we protect, and some we hide. The danger isn't that people are imperfect. The danger is believing you don't need to keep paying attention. At 80, I don't fear being lied to the way I once did. I fear wasting time pretending I don't see what's in front of me, because the years move whether you look closely or not, and when they're gone, they're gone. So watch gently, listen closely, and when the small things don't line up, don't look away. Not because the world is dangerous, but because your time is precious, and clarity, even when it's uncomfortable, is kinder than illusion. The street is quiet now, evening light settling across the porch rail. I spent 33 years carrying letters, but the heaviest things I ever carried weren't in envelopes. They were the truths people hoped would stay hidden. They never did. They never do. And in the end, what remains isn't the betrayal. It's the peace that comes from finally seeing clearly and choosing not to pretend anymore.